Hello, Augies Worldwide. I'm Dave Kassler, amateur radio call sign KE0OG, here with another episode of Ask Dave. Today we're going to look at the proper placement of tuners, amplifiers, things like that, and when you might want a tuner between your rig and your amplifier, which normally you don't. The standard procedure is this. You have a rig which is connected to an amplifier, which, if necessary, is connected to a high-power tuner and then is connected to the antenna. All modern amplifiers have a 50 ohm input, and all modern transceivers have a 50 ohm output, so a piece of cable a few feet long between the two will do just fine. Now, the problem comes in is if the rig or the amplifier, or both, are older. By older I mean tubes in both the rig and all tube in the amp, and not a modern one either, something from like 30-40 years ago. The input may not be 50 ohms. Now, in the old days, when you could tune your tube rig to just about any impedance that you wanted, that wasn't a problem. But if you've got a modern rig going into an ancient amp, you may have to stick an SWR meter in there and see what's going on in the interaction between the amp and the rig. Otherwise, let me show you here on the whiteboard. You have your rig, which is a 50 ohm output. 50 ohms, okay? And then that goes to the amplifier, and even if it's a tube one, like an 811, this will be 50 ohm input, okay? So you don't need a tuner or anything in there. In fact, you shouldn't have a tuner in there. Now, then if you want, you would put a tuner out here, and then this would go to your amp or to your antenna. Now, as I mentioned, if this is really old, this will not be 50 ohms. And if this is really old, this will not necessarily be 50 ohms. So at least once, you need to put an SWR meter here and a tuner here and get this to match, okay, so that there's zero reflected power. Now, over here, the problem with having an amplifier or a tuner on the output of the amplifier is that you're dealing with much more power. So the tuner has to be rated. If this is a 600 watt amplifier, you need a tuner that's probably capable of more than that. I know MFJ sells a 600 watt tuner to go with a 600 watt amplifier. The problem is if you had a bad SWR here, you're going to be dealing with some higher voltages here. I would go for like a 1200 watt tuner. Okay? Now, here's the thing. If you're not using the amp, if what you are doing is going straight through, you've got this on bypass. Okay, it goes through the amp and you see this. You see this tuner. And so you tune this, it should be the same tuning that you would use if you didn't have the amplifier. So the output is 50 ohms and input is 50 ohms on all modern amplifiers. So what you do is you leave the amplifier in bypass, give it a little power over here, tune the tuner, okay, and then you can turn off the bypass, kick on the amp, and go out like that and not have a problem. So the tuner here is the only reason you put the tuner here is to make sure the rig and the amp talk to each other properly. That will have to come out if you're going to use this tuner here. Normally you would not put a tuner here. Note that, and this is critical, this is just absolutely critical, that the amplifier here will only see the antenna if the amp is in bypass. It does not help you to tune that antenna when the amplifier is there, because the amplifier basically ignores what's here and puts stuff out here. The tuner sees the transmission line in the antenna, and that's all that you want to do it. So I think that answers the question from MJ Lee, K6KA. If you use an antenna tuner into a cliperton amp, is it necessary or advisable to use an antenna tuner in the output of the amp? And the answer is you don't use a tuner there. You use a high-power tuner over here. High-power tuners, of course, are more expensive, but that's part of the price of having an amplifier. So there you have it. You should know that we do have a giveaway going on right now, and the giveaway is for this radio right here. This is an HF SIGS Micro BITX version 6, already in the case. It works. I did a video about it. It's a nice little rig for someone to have. So send a postcard or a QSL card or a single sheet of paper in an envelope to Dave Kassler, KE0OG, P.O. Box 98, Ridgeway, Colorado, 81432. And on your QSL card or whatever, make sure that it has your name and call sign and your shipping address, where you want it shipped to. And I am shipping USPS, so you can ship it to a post office box. And so your name and address and phone number. The phone number is in case I have any questions. I don't need your email address. And note that all entries will be destroyed after the giveaway. So there you have it. Please subscribe. Please click like. And until we next meet, 73.